So, in fact, the Ministry of Education did a very interesting thing in '87. They got, the basic foundational courses that are important for communications itself were not even being taught. The texts that were used in engineering colleges were one generation earlier. It was all still related to telegraphy. Even we were taught telegraphy courses in IIT in 1977, 78. Okay, I think Kanpur IIT, for example, had already gone ahead, but not here. So, the ministry actually created a national program called telematics joint telematics program, because no IIT had, even most IITs had one or two at best people who were aware of the modern trends. Kharagpur, incidentally, though many of them were completely homegrown people, had a pretty good grasp of this. So they actually got us to join together, five IITs initially, and then 6 IISc, to form this program. And every summer and winter, every 6 months, to conduct a 2-week intensive course for teachers in all the other institutions. They would come to one of the IITs by rotation, and we would conduct this course on we would cover all the important subjects to some extent, but take one topic and do it almost at a full course.
Audience were all teachers.
And we also open to some people from industry. Industry in those days just meant Bharat Electronics, ECIL, and all that. And they would come, some 30, 40, and we'd run this program. We were given money to set up new labs so that they could be familiarized. Many of us actually took up the development of low-cost laboratory trainers, which then went to those colleges. I remember building one for digital communications. Junjunwala built one for fiber optics. Timothy Gonzalez built one for networking. So, it used to cost 30, 40, 50,000 rupees per bench you could have. And otherwise, we'd all used to import one bench worth of stuff from somewhere in England, and then everybody would just see it, because nobody can
with it.
Yeah. So we actually built all this. So a lot of this stuff went on. That the main thing about that program also is it created a community. We all knew each other. We could meet once in 6 months. In those days, you couldn't otherwise meet. So this community of telecommunications faculty formed in the country. And it was a very well-knit community. Around 93, we launched our own national conference, so that students could also come and meet. And that conference continues. The National Conference on Communications continues till today. And and we made it a national conference and not an international conference. We actually put it during the semester in about February timeframe, because we didn't want the headache of running it in a hotel and so on. We wanted to run it in one of the campuses. We knew that guest house, everything is available only off season. So we ran it like that. Yes, foreigners, even Indians from abroad, don't find it easy to come. But we said there are other conferences for that.
Sure.
So we focused on this. It has become a very good conference, and we built this community. That program was run for actually two 5-year stints before the government said, okay, now we don't need it. And but that community continues, and in fact, the importance of building such, and the collateral benefits of building such communities, you can see so many IIT directors have come from that. Deputy directors and directors, starting with Professor Farooqi, Professor Sinha, then Professor Rashtrabuddhe, Surendra Prasad, Anurag Kumar, myself, Junjunwala didn't become a director, but he built a research park. Now Devendra Jalihal, Uday Desai, Abhay Karandikar, all of them are part of the telematics group. What it did, it opened our eyes to what you could do together, to how you go beyond your narrow academics. So that's all it did, and it created the leaders. We didn't focus on this. We had no idea any of us were going to run institutions or anything, but it shows the importance of such programs. If you look at the total amount of money spent on that program, probably it was not much. So that was a MHRD initiative, actually, not a Ministry of Electronics initiative. And we called it the Joint Telematics Group. We actually even intervened with government with policy, written policy papers saying that, how do you push indigenization and so on. And really, we just gave it to the Planning Commission, just left it at that. We did a lot of that kind of thing. So that is how slowly, I think the generational shift in what is being taught, even in the engineering college system, everything improved. And these fundamental subjects started being taught everywhere.
Sure.
And in the IITs, of course, it went further. And then I think the real big change happened beyond 2010, when startups became a movement, and youngsters could start building these things, and became easy to procure components from anywhere in the world to build these things and so on. All of that happened in the last 15 years.
Sure.
Before that, yes, we built systems, but with some difficulty. And so on. CDOT was a very big thing that happened in the government sector itself in 1984 or 3, when really a group of youngsters were encouraged to build a state-of-the-art switch. It was not a communication system; it was a switch, but an electronic switch. And when I returned to India and I went to CDOT, it was absolutely a mind-blowing experience, because all these youngsters below 25, 26, all sitting there working morning to night. Basically, what was done in CDOT was they were all youngsters. They could only be paid a certain amount, even compared to MNCs. Some MNCs that just started setting up in Bangalore, even compared to them, they could not be paid as much. But what was done for them is, if you were in CDOT in the morning before breakfast, they would give you breakfast. If you were there in the night till dinner, they'd give you dinner. And if you came early or worked late, they would drop you and pick you up. I think those things they did, and that made all the difference. These kids were all living there, and they built that switch in 3 years. It was a fabulous team. And you see, many of those people, if you trace back what happened to all the people who were in CDOT in the first 5, 6, 7 years, they became industry leaders later. So,
my father's first job in 1968 was with Bharat Electronics.
Yeah.
He describes a very similar work culture.
Yeah.
Somebody says, "I want to build a radar," and they had the freedom to work on it and build it together. I think those were the foundations that are allowing us to think of 4G or 5G, our indigenous stack.